Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective, going to 5,000 subscribers by Texas LSU, here with John Tran.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man.
It's like I spend
I
every
know.
single day with you now.
I know. We're in a long-term relationship. So we got a lot to unpack in today's episode. We're going to be covering the fourth quarter part of our schedule. We're actually going to do the Louisiana Tech prep, and we'll have our schedule or final predictions on this season. So predictions for the game on Saturday as well as predictions on this season. Both of us have, discussed it, and we feel comfortable with our picks. The other thing is we are continuing our countdown, so make sure you guys are checking out the countdown every day. Longhorns 10 for 10 series blast that we had during that series for you guys. So every day up until the game, we'll have our top 10 players coming out. Also, interview is up as well for Horns Illustrated that we did, linking it with James and Habib. Guys, that was, how much fun did you have hanging out with those guys?
It was fantastic. Just the stories that they were telling us and everything like that. It was just so much fun, and just the way that they were just so laid back and just enjoyed the channel too. They were actually fans of the channel.
Absolutely,
so, that was
fans of the channel.
Yeah.
UT fans. So, guys, if you want to get your copy of the magazine, of the subscription, and we'll have links below. There's actually a Fanatic Perspective coupon code. So all those details in that video as well as the video here below. So if you guys want to go check it out, it's on us, 20% off to link up with those guys as well. So we're very, very grateful that we got the honor to help with the 25th
Absolutely.
anniversary edition of the magazine. So as well as following on all social media. So now that we've gotten all the pleasantries out of the way, Tom Herman's press conference. I actually want to start on just the recent news because we got some good news and we got some not so good news.
Let's do the not so good news.
Not so good news.
Yeah.
The running back situation. He had a bit of a
the sarcastic laugh that he did, the sarcastic nervous laugh he did. Yeah, it's not good. Yeah, it's really not good when your third string quarterback is now your backup running back. As of right now, I mean, it's not. I mean, he's an athletic player and everything like that, but it's just.
For those who don't know, Rashawn Johnson is now moving over into the running back room, and it will be playing the position until further notice.
Right.
They will reevaluate at the 4-week window for the redshirt purposes, but he's also going to be playing special teams now, so they just need the bodies and you can continue. Just wanted to, in case anybody hadn't heard that news.
Yeah, I mean, it's not ideal at all. I mean, and one of the injuries that hasn't been talked about was I didn't even hear about this. You told me about this earlier. Was Jordan Winnington's?
Yeah. So from what I've heard, it's not been fully disclosed, but I've heard they've had some little soreness with the groin and things like that.
Injury,
which that's on top of him also coming off an injury at Cuero, right? So he's fine. He's not on the injury report, so to speak, but there's been,
It doesn't mean one hit can change that.
Yeah.
But I mean, enough about that because that's the terrible news. There's actually some good news that came out of it.
Yes. Yeah. So Zach Shackelford is back practicing. So it's great to have our center back. Also our number 5 player in the 10 for 10 countdown. And we also got Cade Brewer back out of concussion protocol.
Huge.
And 2 positions where we don't have the greatest depth there. We've talked about that in our last update video. But just to get those 2 guys back in action, practicing, I think that's a huge momentum going into game, because it's game week now. It's
yes,
game
it
week
is.
now, right?
Yes, it is.
So just excited to get those guys back in the fray. Before we go into Louisiana Tech prep, do you want to cover the last? Let's knock out the fourth quarter of our season.
Okay.
And then we'll just circle back.
I personally think that it's it's kind of our probably toughest 3-game stretch at Iowa State, at Baylor, and then at home with Texas Tech. And the reason why I say that is I'm not really afraid too much of the talent. I'm afraid of where it's located on the schedule. We're already dealing with a lot of nagging injuries, and towards the end of the schedule, when you're actually facing teams and you're having to travel there, you're having to get a young team up for these games, get them focused, hopefully for a Big 12 championship run. It's not an ideal situation to be in.
So coming off of, we finished the third quarter with home versus Kansas State. So that next game would be Iowa State.
At Iowa State, yep.
So at Iowa State.
See, I'm not. Everyone's freaking out more so about Iowa State. They've actually lost quite a bit of their offensive talent. Most of their offensive talent.
But how? I agree with you. Yeah. Like, you lose Hakeem Butler
and David Montgomery too, which was probably about 60% of their offense. I'm just throwing out a stupid stat. So you guys don't have to correct me on that.
Trans stats, man.
the bullshit stats, but you're returning Brock Purdy, but and he's gonna play better at Ames than he did here. And he's going to have another year to grow up.
He had his worst game of the season against us.
Coach Campbell's a fantastic coach. It's just I feel that we on paper should beat this team by 10 points. I would say.
I don't know if I feel as strongly about that at Ames. I think we win. I think the game could be,
It's not a Thursday night game, though.
I know. And I think it's just one of those games, to your point, though, where everyone's been talking about it so much, and there's going to be so much attention on it. And let's say, heading to that game, they only have 1 or 2 losses. That's also going to start to get national hype, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody's going to be talking about, is this the game? And that's the thing, too, what's so difficult about doing predictions ahead of time like this is we don't know what the narrative is going to be going into the game. We don't know. We might be a one-loss team ourselves going into the game, right? So these are things that we have to weigh in terms of just how we've, and that factors into our overall prediction. But I think it's a game we win, but it's going to be a very, very, I think that's one of those Cameron Dicker games that you were talking about, where we pull it out, maybe even a comeback situation of sorts, because I think they're going to be good defensively. They always have something tricky up their sleeves for us. But I was impressed with how we played against them with Sam being so banged up last year. But we can only look at that so much to a certain degree. But, for those of you who may be chiming in from an Iowa State perspective, I would love to hear, because I haven't gone full blown into, prep,
and the
hardcore.
Roster. Yeah, and the roster build-up.
I'm curious to know what they have replacing 2 high-level guys. I mean, David Montgomery is going to be a fantasy darling for those of you who are doing your fantasy football drafts right now.
Shout out Brandon Arrington.
So moving on, though, the following week at Baylor.
Next week, that's the week that actually scares me, because they're actually returning. They're actually returning one of the 4 starting quarterbacks from last year's. That were
Charlie Brewer.
Yeah, Charlie Brewer. Not only that, he has weapons around him. Denzel Mims. You saw that one catch he had against us where he caught it, I think, one-handed and then went 30 yards for a touchdown just off a quick slant. And then Jim Michael Hasty. Another fantastic coach that was getting NFL buzz through Matt Rule. So I'm actually really worried about this game, because it goes to that thing again. Hey, we're going on the road to Ames. Have to get up for a big game. Like you said, it's going to be a big game, and then you're going to have to repeat that again, rinse and repeat the next week, and it's pretty difficult to do that.
Did you know that Charlie Brewer didn't get an offer from the University of Texas?
Gus Johnson.
Gus Johnson. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, he said it about 3 times a quarter. So
and we went to the Baylor game last year, right? And they played very well in Austin against us.
I think we watched it at my house.
No, we were there.
We were? Okay. Well, maybe not. I don't think I was, but whatever.
I was there. That was the game, because I couldn't find out what happened to Sam. I thought he broke his hand and all this type of nonsense was going on, and we couldn't get an update on the phone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I don't know where. Anyway, we'll figure that out.
I know exactly where I was.
Okay.
It was my son's birthday, and
you're right.
I yelled out a curse word.
You're right.
Yeah, I remember exactly.
You're right. Anyway, Charlie Brewer didn't get an offer from Texas just for the 900th time since they said that during that broadcast that I heard. Anyway, point being, they played very well, but we were also handcuffed handicapped by the same thing, of course. Right? And shout out to Shane Buechele, captain at SMU now, who got us out of that game. Didn't play great, but played well enough to win. They were right there, like you said, like Brandon Jones saving the day with the knockaway.
Yeah.
That's going to be a really tough game in Waco, and that's one of those games where it's the schedule. The schedule. That's, like you said, a very tough part of the schedule. Going to Ames, then coming back, going to Waco. Now, we normally show up pretty good there. It's a very close trip for us in Austin. Where we do typically have a good UT presence. I believe we've won. I think it's, and I'm sorry, hit me up in the comments. I believe we won our last 4 versus Baylor, going back to even
in Waco.
No, just in general. Just in general. I think we've won 4 straight against Baylor. So that's, depending on how you want to look at that. Matt Rule also looking at, hey guys, we haven't beaten Texas, since Art Browse, right? Mm-hmm. So like we need to, step same way we're kind of looking at the Oklahoma State thing against them, right?
Yeah, right.
It goes both ways. So
one of the good call outs though is that they have a tough game the week before I think it's at Oklahoma, but so that's something that could come into play too, is that they have to get up for two games back to back as well.
Everybody always gets up for Texas though. You know how it is. Yeah. And then we conclude, I believe that Friday after Thanksgiving.
Yep. Short week.
Texas Tech at home. We are going to be seeing new head coach Matt Wells.
I honestly don't know anything about him as a coach.
Cool.
I honestly don't.
I do know this with him. He coached up Jordan Love, who's the quarterback at Utah State. I watched their bowl game against North Texas, where they beat the living hell out of them.
Okay.
I don't know what bowl game it was called, but I watched the game. And Jordan Love is a guy who is already being lauded amongst NFL draft circles. A lot of people think he has the potential to be a first-round pick. Very heavy quarterback class. Hopefully you're listening to Indianapolis Colts. But going back to Matt Wells, finished very strong at Utah State. Coming over, I think it's going to be very friendly for Alan Bowman. Because if you look, Alan Bowman was one of the better freshman quarterbacks for a long stretch of the season last year. Until he started having some really, really devastating injuries, right? And, we're talking about like organs and stuff.
Yeah.
So
scary injuries.
Very scary injuries, right? Going back to the Andrew Luck thing again. But with Alan Bowman, I think one of the differences we'll see between Cliff and Matt Wells and what they're implementing is they'll have a little bit more defined pass protection and more pro style. It's kind of more of a pro style spread, like kind of how we run a little bit, where they're going to be throwing the ball a lot still, but it's more different defined type of reads downfield versus kind of the more freelancing nature that Cliff operates with. Right. So with that being said, this is a game that I expect Texas to win. I thought Tech was, pretty competitive last year when we played them, even with Jet Duffy, who's actually dealing with some legal issues right now. But, not having to go against a Dakota Allen, right? Some of the, really good, actually defensive players that they had.
Yeah.
But we responded, played well against them, and I expect us to play well against Tech at home. I think Sam, this is a game he's got to take personally because last time he played against Tech at home was a disaster, if you remember.
Yes.
So, honestly, that's a game where I think a lot of people are going to, unless Matt Wells comes out and starts surprising, in terms of when I say surprising, like they start ascending to the top of the Big 12, I think that's a game where I feel comfortable winning, even though we did not see Alan Bowman play last year. But he is one of the better quarterbacks in the Big 12. If there's anybody that could potentially give that, whether it's the Jalen Hurts or the Sam Ehlinger a run for their money, I think it's Alan Bowman if he can stay healthy. So that concludes the three, the last three games, fourth quarter of the schedule. And before we get into our final predictions, I want to go into Louisiana Tech prep. They've low-key been talking a lot of trash.
Not low-key. It's not low-key at all.
Terry Bradshaw was
it's Terry Bradshaw legitimately out there.
But this other brother, L'Jarius Sneed, who's one of their defensive backs, made the comment today about, we can press Texas corners and they can't get off press, and at their media availability, he's writing, checks that I hope, with his mouth that I don't know can be cashed, because I don't know what tape they're watching from Colin Johnson alone. That's the strategy we're looking to implement here. Devin Duvernay, John Burt now being in the starting lineup. And we're going to touch on the depth chart. Actually, this is a good time to touch on the depth chart before we get into I know we're bouncing around here, but hear me out.
Yeah.
Depth chart was announced leading into the Louisiana Tech game. Were there any surprises to you before we go back into the Louisiana Tech trash talk stuff?
Yeah, John Burt. I mean, honestly, it's I haven't heard a word about him, how he's been doing this spring or even this fall. All I remember is him burning past everyone and just dropping passes left and right. So I hope for our sake that he's been working with the machine and catching balls, working on his hand strength, because he has elite speed.
Track speed, yes.
Elite speed. And
size, too.
Yeah, 6'3". And size, yeah. I mean, Marquise Goodwin always had really good hands with his speed. Mm-hmm. And, I was hoping...
And he was physical.
Yes, yeah. And I was hoping he could be half the receiver he is. And, if he starts catching those, I mean, there's no one who's going to keep pace with him.
The one thing, too, about John Burt is when guys, having to play going against what Mr. Sneed from Louisiana Tech said, guys a lot, when they face Burt, and you saw this adjustment get made during the Notre Dame game a few years ago, you have to play off. Especially if you're corner trying to play cover 3 out there against them or playing man. But where he can win is on those comeback routes with his speed, because he's selling that deep and then he comes back. The issue he's had is executing those catches, and being physical. I've actually seen him do a better job. I think it was the Missouri Bowl game where he was able to high point a football in the end zone and catch a touchdown. I've seen him make the more athletic type plays. I've seen him catch the screens and turn it up like he did against Oklahoma State. But, the over-the-shoulder things, the focus drops, that the ball just gets into his chest. And I trust this coaching staff, Drew Maringer and Tom Herman and all these guys, if they're putting him out there, they've seen some marked improvement. Now, I will say this too. Brennan Eagles, with the surgery, hasn't been practicing. Yeah. It looks like he should be ready to go because he's second on the depth chart. But, I mean, I guess because they were high on Brennan Eagles at the beginning of camp pre-surgery, right? So I think this also could be something where it's due to injury. But whether it is or not, what an awesome opportunity for John Burt.
I hope.
In his 5th year.
Yeah, absolutely. He came back for his 5th year, and I hope he cherishes this opportunity and makes the most of it. I agree with you 100% on those little, hey, you're going to sprint 15 yards but stop. You'll be open every single time because people are going to be backpedaling so much just so they don't get past them.
Those are some of the best route speed guys can run when if they get good with their being able to sell deep, come back and leverage their technique and use their hands to catch the football. The other thing I noticed was T'Vondre Sweat, in the rotation there. Right. And he was actually one of the first freshmen. Yeah. One of the first freshmen to get a stripe off. So they've been high on him. Malcolm Roach hyping him up in his press conference. So I'm excited to see him in there. Jake Smith being our starting punt returner. Yep. Which we said on this channel, 6-7 months ago. I was like, it just flows perfectly into his skill set. And he's also backing up Devin Duvernay at the H position, which is our slot receiver. Mm-hmm. So overall, I mean, I guess the one thing, and I'm curious to get everyone else's thoughts in the comments, that I haven't really read up on with the Herb Hand, Parker Braun situation. Right now, Junior Aguilar is still ahead of him, right? So what does that tell us? Have we heard anything about Parker Braun having issues picking up the pass protection type stuff? Is it going to be a situation where they strategically play him 4 games and look to maybe redshirt him? Really curious to get you guys' thoughts on Parker Braun, as he is not a starter as of now, right? Anything else you wanted to hit with the depth chart? I know we only had 2 running backs on there, but we already touched on that.
I mean, I'm kind of a little bit shocked that Jalen Green is over Anthony Cook, because Anthony Cook did actually play pretty well last year. But like you said, the Tom Herman issue said, hey, I can't throw 4 people out there. So, I bet you the line is so thin
4?
Between
Kobe Boyce, Jalen Green, Anthony Cook, Deshaun Jameson.
Yep.
And I think when he said that, what that meant was these 4 people are really close. Mm-hmm. Nobody's separating themselves. And now it has that competition. It's kind of like the old school quarterback competition, right?
Right.
Where then it carries into the season where we got to give them reps during the games. And now we got to let the game tape figure it out because we weren't able to sort out in practice. To be fair to Jalen Green, because I kind of disagree with you, Jalen Green was one of the best defensive players, period, from what we saw in the spring game. Now, I understand what you're saying. Anthony Cook played a lot more last year. Now, is Anthony Cook there on the depth chart because he's suspended for the first half and that's the only reason why he's there? Maybe. Mm-hmm. But I think you're going to see all 4 guys play.
No. I agree with you 100% that we're going to see them all 4 play. I was just a little bit shocked to see it with Anthony Cook playing that much in actual meaningful minutes down the stretch last season.
Mm-hmm. So going into Louisiana Tech and starting there, we've talked a lot about Adrian Hardy these last few videos, just kind of getting y'all minds right as to what type of player he is. And I think that's a perfect segue because we were talking about the corners. Mm-hmm. All 4 of those brothers are going to have their handful with Mr. Hardy, and not just Mr. Hardy, but the connection that he has with J'Mar Smith.
Are we going to touch on the guy talking trash first?
We can go back to him. Okay. Cool. I was going to come back to Mr. Snead. I'm not done with him. Okay. I wanted to actually address their offense first. So they have a very experienced quarterback. He's 4 year starter in J'Mar Smith. I've seen him play a couple times. One of the things that impressed me, he's a dual threat. He's actually pretty accurate. Short to intermediate. I think one of his weaknesses from what I've seen in person, he does hold the ball. He will wait. And I don't know if he has the greatest offensive line in the world that's going to be able to afford him that type of time. And I think Todd Orlando is going to be aware of that to try to generate some extra pressure and some sacks, knowing that the quarterback does like to hold on to the ball a little bit because he does take sacks. J'Mar does. He will take sacks. He will lose 10, 12 yards trying to get the big play. We saw some quarterbacks last week in the Miami and Florida game. Both of them take sacks like that, right? So I think there's going to be some opportunity for us to capitalize on him because he doesn't always necessarily get the ball out quickly. But he's very experienced.
Yeah, the experience is.
He's played in a lot of big games. He's played in Death Valley. He's undefeated in bowl games. He has the dual threat capabilities, right?
Right.
So whether it's design runs or even scrambles when he does decide to be decisive, and then he also has that rapport and that connection.
Yeah, that safety blanket that we talked about
Hardy.
Last one.
Think of what Sam Ehlinger has with a Colin Johnson. Mm-hmm. It's very comparable. And Adrian Hardy is a guy who's over 70 catches, over 1,000 yards, over $180 on the LSU defense on their secondary, right? So,
and it's not just against FCS competition as well.
No,
I mean, he what we said 180 against
180 against LSU last year.
Greedy was supposed to be the number one D-back
too. So these guys are no joke. Now, the weaknesses, areas of opportunity for Texas. Louisiana Tech did not run the football well last year. I believe their leading rusher had 600 yards rushing, and they struck, I think, and then after that was Jamar with like around 300 or 400 himself, right? So defensively, I don't think this is going to be a very stressful game for the linebackers. I actually think there's going to be some opportunities for them to get their confidence up, plug the run, and make Louisiana Tech one-dimensional. Mm-hmm. They already throw the ball a ton, but you want them to throw the ball on your terms, right? Not on their terms. So I think defensively, even with the Hardy's going to get his at times, just is with their connection and their experience. But over the course of the game, and our defensive line, Keandre Coburn, Malcolm Roach, T'Vondre Sweat, Taquan Graham, Marquez Bimage, Ajomo, I think all those guys, all those bodies, my boy Joseph Osai as well in that mix, I think we'll be able to wear them down over the course of 4 quarters. Now, what's underrated with Louisiana Tech, and I know the brother was talking trash, they had a good season with their secondary last year. Now, I know when we were talking pre-show, you're like, Jalen Ferguson was a big part of that. You know, when you have a first-round pick pass rusher that can help, you know, attribute all the interceptions that their secondary had, but they're returning all those guys.
We've also talked about that. We're hoping Keandre is that way for us. That gives us that extra time to actually make plays in the secondary, or actually forces the quarterback to rush his decisions so we can make plays in the secondary. This secondary it's pretty good. I mean,
L'Jarius Sneed, Amik Robertson, who he's probably even better player than Sneed in that defense. He's short. He's like 5'9", but they're all ball. The one thing about them, and then the other guy, James Jackson, they're ball hawks. I mean, they attack the football. They take, but they were allowed to take chances with their pass rush. They do return their leading tackler at linebacker. They run a 4-2-5 defense. But that's something where, again, how can we take advantage of that up front with our size?
Well, we'll outmatch a man-to-man for that. I mean, I don't want to be running Sam, but if we do run QB power and they're running a 4-2-5, we got the numbers on them all day. We got 2 extra blockers right then and there. So, I mean, if that's the case, or even throw in a little wrinkle so we could take the hits off of Sam and go wildcat formation in that regard.
I want you to
with Jordan Whittington.
Yeah, they definitely have a package with Jordan.
Yeah,
Whittington.
I was about to say
they actually had that with LJ too.
They also had it with Trey as well. They trusted Trey enough to handle the ball.
Mm-hmm. So
I mean, they do have that package. And if they are going to run that against us, I mean,
and just use the extra blocker. I agree.
I bet you it's about 6 yards a carry. Honestly,
yeah,
you just control the clock.
Yeah, because that's where Louisiana Tech is going to struggle, is up front and losing that production, right? Mm-hmm. As good as they are in their secondary, and part of the reason why those brothers are talking trash is because they've put up numbers, but they haven't seen Colin Johnson.
Yeah,
they haven't seen Devin Duvernay. That, you know, even what John Burt's going to present, if he's out there, or if Brendan Eagles is healthy, it's just a different caliber of athlete and scheme that they're facing with a veteran quarterback in Sam Ehlinger.
So everyone's going to say, oh, well, they played LSU pretty well. Well, Joe Burrow wasn't as polished as Sam is right now. True. When they first played. And, I mean, we have LSU people on this channel.
That was Joe Burrow's third start.
It was his third start. Mm-hmm. So they actually have to respect the fact that Sam Ehlinger can throw the ball, he can run it, and we also can run the ball down your throat as well with our running backs as well.
Let's get into our predictions, and then we can wrap up.
Is this for the season?
We'll start with Louisiana Tech, and then we'll go into the season. I think we both have Texas winning this game. The spread, I believe, last I saw was 20.5.
Yes, I think 20.
Okay. I have Texas covering. I think we defer.
Yeah, okay. I don't think. I think we win by 17, but I still think it's in quote, I guess, an easy 17. Does that make sense? I mean,
no, that makes sense.
I think we're going to be extremely vanilla. We'll probably go up big early, and then we'll just we won't put our foot on the gas. We'll kind of take it off and just try to try to run out and see if we could just use our power on them, and it's methodically go down the field and maybe score, get a field goal or anything like that. But I don't think we're gonna just run up the score. I think we want to kind of just save it and try to get out of this game with a win.
I disagree. I think Tom Herman wants to send a message. He's lost his last 2 home openers. Or not home openers, just openers in general, because we lost in FedEx and we lost in Austin the year before. And both games to Maryland. So insert your Maryland joke here, anybody that's not a UT fan. It happens every video. You lost to Maryland. Okay.
And Kansas. We'll throw out that too.
Yeah. Well, but that wasn't this staff.
I know.
But I think he wants to send a message that 1-0 is real in this program. From not just from the standpoint of the opener, but from the standpoint of every week is the only thing we need to be focused on. And we do, I want them to build up that belief that they need to go out and handle their business and take Louisiana Tech seriously, all hands on deck seriously. And so the reason why I said I think they're gonna have some issues early in the game. I've put a lot of respect on a lot of these brothers' names at Louisiana Tech. They've won 5 straight bowl games. Skip Holtz is no joke. They're probably going to win 8 or 9 games again this year. So this is a real football game for Texas. But if you want to be in the playoffs, if you want to start to assert yourself, even with all that, these are the type of games where you really start to assert and prove your dominance, not just to the national media or the people doing the rankings or the playoff committee, but your own team. Getting guys in the game, getting guys reps. I want to see Casey Thompson play. I don't think, one thing, the difference between us and Oklahoma is Oklahoma opponents like this that are good, they've still stepped on their necks early and gotten their backups in and really been able to get that confidence and that juice. That was where we were when we made that run with Vince and them in 2005. Teams like this, good teams, they would beat the shit out of them. You know what I mean? So, especially a team coming in here talking, I think we need to develop that aggressive. I don't want to be fearful of, we might put this on tape. Because at the end of the day, it's still about execution. It's still about physicality. When Georgia knew we were running quarterback power, we still ran it. It wasn't a secret.
No, I agree with you. And I don't really, if you think about it, 3 possessions is not
right.
Is not a little amount of
right. No,
you're still blowing that team out. 3 possession game. I'm just saying. I feel like, hey, okay, we've proven that we're better than this team. Let's focus.
Okay.
We'll make our big splash next week, type of thing. And I get I would love to see us win by 60. I would absolutely love to see us win by 60.
But I think this could be. I could potentially see like a 24-point win, right? Like a 45 to 21
game,
something like that where. They may put some touchdowns up early on our young corners, but over the course of the game and
our size and speed
to set the freaking tone for the season. We've been playing from behind the last 2 years, right?
Okay.
And so I think just really putting a stamp on that 1-0 mentality, I think means a lot to Tom. Do you want to go first with your season predictions?
I mean, you can go first. We kind of have the same thing, but just different losses.
Okay,
right?
So we do have the same win-loss record, and everybody can chime in. I know, and we'll conclude. But like I said, this is our week 1 extravaganza video, right?
I'm so excited.
So my prediction for our football season, I believe the Texas Longhorns are going 10-2. I believe we beat LSU.
Okay.
I feel good about that at home. I believe we will see a reverse of the Oklahoma situation from last year. Okay. I think some of us are underestimating because of what Oklahoma lost. I think we're underestimating some people, not all. Some people are underestimating how good of a coach Lincoln Riley is, and this back and forth he has going with Todd Orlando. And I think we lose in the combo, and this is just preseason picks. Mm-hmm. I can change my pick once I've seen football. Once I've actually seen football. But as of right now, I think we lose the game in Dallas, and I think we drop one of those, whether it's either Iowa State or Baylor.
Okay.
But I think we get a rematch with Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship game, just like they got a rematch with us last year, and I think we come out on top the second time. That's my season prediction. 10-2. I do have Texas winning the Big 12 championship and showing that progress, showing that improvement from last season. And why do I have us dropping one of those other games? It's not because of our experience or the Tom Herman special. It's health.
Yep. That's the same thing. I mean,
I don't think they're going to hold up. I think there's going to be a MASH unit week. It just is what it is. And it could be OU. Who knows? But I just don't see us, and I don't think the depth is there behind it yet to overcome and, something emergency happening, right? So I think health is going to be an issue. Why we don't go 11-1 or 12-0.
Yeah. So I actually have 10-2 as well. It's funny. The guys from Horns Illustrated asked us, and we said it all at the same time.
We did. We said
we
it at
did
the same
say.
time.
I did say different losses. I don't think that we beat LSU. I think it's going to be a very close game, and honestly, it could go either way. I'm like you said, I can change my prediction.
Yeah, once you see football,
when I
absolutely
see the game, but and I do think that we lose to Baylor. I do think we beat Iowa State, but I think we lose to Baylor because I just think for me, it's just a weird portion of the schedule. Health, back-to-back away games. Matt Rule is a fantastic coach, and we're going against a quarterback who actually has experience with weapons as well. So that's what makes me a little nervous about them.
And he's gonna have a extra
and
juice for us.
And he wasn't offered.
He wasn't offered.
He
by
wasn't offered by
UT. So, do you have us winning the Big 12? Because it
I
comes
do-
out of the
I
conference
do-
championship.
I do have us winning the Big 12.
Is it going to be OU in the game that we beat? Or are you coming with a scorching hot take?
I think so. I did tell you a hot take that
You did.
I did say if because they're saying that Jalen Hurts and who's the backup?
Oh, Spencer Rattler.
Spencer Rattler are really neck and neck. I know he pulled away and he's got it. But if Jalen Hurts is not starting by the end of the season, I don't think they're making the Big 12 championship.
And you think that what was the other thing you had said? Because we actually had this conversation the other day.
Yeah.
You think that Rattler might at some point unseat Jalen Hurts?
I do. Either that or I don't think he's that polished of a passer, Jalen Hurts. I think he's a good
Even
player.
with the improved coaching.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't think he's that polished of a passer. Once again, I haven't seen him with this coaching staff. And if they turn him into a Baker Mayfield type in just overnight, I don't
think so. To your point, I don't think that they'll have a lot of patience with him.
I think he's on a short leash.
He's got a lot of weapons. Theo Weiss, Hazelwood, CD Lamb, Grant Calcaterra.
Yep.
He has that's top 2-3 weaponry in the country. And if for whatever reason he has a game where it says 170 yards and they're not getting the ball and he's missing people,
and they have to run the ball to win the game.
Yeah, and they're looking at Spencer Rattler like, all right, this is our guy who was a number one dual threat quarterback, and he can throw it, right? So, I think Jalen Hurts is going to be better though. I think I like him.
I do too. I like his personality, and I
think he's coachable.
Yes, I think he's very coachable, but sometimes
you just don't see the arm talent.
I just don't see it yet.
Okay.
I'm just being straightforward with you. I'm just
nothing against
the kid or anything like that. And hey, they're the champs until someone beats them. So,
and they also have Houston to open up with,
which is Sunday.
Dana Holgerson.
Yep.
And Derek King, who you can make an argument as a dark horse Heisman candidate. He had 50 touchdowns last year, and that was granted with under the Kendall Briles scheme, but still Dana's system is no joke either, right? We've seen what other pastors have done in that offense. So overall, guys, we both have 10-2. We both have us winning the conference, the Big 12, which we'll take it, right? please let us know in the description your thoughts. Trent, it's always a pleasure as always.
Always.
And we'll be back with more videos in the countdown series. But this has been our Louisiana Tech prep, and we finished our fourth quarter of the season. I'm ready for football to get here. At this point,
well, it's here. I mean, it's here.
Yeah,
it wasn't really a great game, but
I know. I'm talking about Texas football.
Okay.
I'm ready for Texas football to get here. I'm tired of making predictions. I want to get down to analyzing what's happening on the field.
Where you can watch both teams and actually see what type of product they put on the field.
So, guys, appreciate y'all so much. Horns always up.